You're listening to the Snipers Club. I'm your host, The Sniper, and we've got one huge game to preview for Thursday. We've been on an absolute tear of late, so let's keep banging those winners in, guys. So we go to Allianz tomorrow, where conditions look to be clear for the Roosters against the Storm. We've got Ash Klein as the ref and Adam G in the bunker. Now, before we start, guys, you might want to remember what Ashley Klein did in finals last year. It was a playoff match between the Roosters and the Storm. There were probably 2 minutes or so left on the clock, and there was what was deemed to be, well, not deemed to be, there was a blatant fumble by Harry Grant that wasn't picked up by Ashley Klein right in front of his eyes. From that, there was a resulting penalty to Melbourne Storm. They made it to the other side of the pitch, knocked it into the corner. Then they had one late scramble on the Roosters try line, where eventually Munster got the ball and kicked an absolute beauty to the right to Warbrick, who managed to leap up high like a salmon and get the ball down for a try, which ultimately led to the Roosters making it through. And that was really, really controversial. So bear in mind that the ref tomorrow is the same ref, Ashley Klein, who did that to the Roosters last year. And there was uproar about it all over social media and in the press. So keep your eyes on him tomorrow, guys. And let's see if he tries to make up for it or, just refs the game fairly tomorrow. Right, let's kick off with some quick stats, guys. These teams met 3 times last year, with the Storm winning all 3. The last time the Roosters won a regular season home game against the Storm was in 2015. Xavier Coates scored 2 hat-tricks against the Roosters last year. One of them was in wet weather, and he scored 7 tries in his last 3 games against the Roosters. The Storm have won 8 of the 9 last meetings between these teams. Daniel Tupou has scored 5 tries in his last 6 games, and he's on 148 NRL tries. Brandon Smith, the Cheese, faces his former team. So looking quickly at team news, guys, James Tedesco returns at fullback with Joey Manu going back into the centres. Sam Walker's been ruled out, so Connor Watson retains his place at 5'8". For the Storm, Big Naz comes back and Kamika drops out. Moving on to the try maps, the Roosters conceded most tries to left wingers last year with 14, and the opposing left winger here is Daniel Tupou. Meanwhile, the Storm conceded most tries to right wingers with 17, and the opposing right winger is Suwali. So for this season, Warbrick's had a bit of a nightmare in defence on the right-hand side, and he's conceded 5 tries to left wingers. And 3 of those were scored by the Fox, Josh Adokar, last weekend. So the Storm had arguably their most lacklustre game of the season last week against the Dogs. They eventually ran out 16-14 winners, but their body language looked off from the start, and they seemed to just think they could turn up and win. They sit second on the ladder, and they've won by margins of 8 points, 4 points, 2 points, and 2 points. That's pretty low for the Storm, guys. They've looked good to the eye so far, although they didn't last week. Our man Remus Smith struck in the first half last weekend and was quite selfish, as expected, but that meant that Xavier Coates got less ball than usual, a theme that may continue into tomorrow. But do remember that Cam Munster did miss the first 4 weeks of the season, and he's literally just come back. Some people were saying he's undercooked. We think he played quite well. He says he's probably playing at about 80% at the moment. Meanwhile, the Roosters made slightly heavy weather of beating a Knights outfit where Ponga suffered an early injury, and he could hardly move. Joey Manu was unbelievable for the Roosters last week in that game. He played at fullback, he ran for 347 metres, and that's one of the highest totals since records began. Luke Keary also looked a lot better when he's allowed to dictate play without Sam Walker alongside him. And their completion rate was also a little higher than it usually is. And they eventually ran out winners by 22 points to 20 against the Knights. So guys, we're going to keep it brief on what happened last week, and let's move on to our verdicts. Neither of the games played by the Roosters or the Storm last week will live long in the memory, hence the short synopsis. And remember that the only time the Storm have been ahead after 70 minutes so far this season was in the first game against the Panthers. They've been relying on Hollywood plays late in games to get them out of trouble. Should we see another poor defensive game from Will Warbrick tomorrow, then we'll most likely see the best young attacker of the next generation, Sia Farlongo, take his place on the wing. And we'd really love to see that partnership between Papi and Farlongo ignite like we saw in flashes or glimpses last season. So Warbrick will need to improve on his defending, and we think the main theme that the Storm would have been working on this week would have been Warbrick's defending and making sure that it's a lot tighter on that edge. Having watched all 3 games back from last year, we can tell you that around 50% of Storm's attacking plays went to their left, 35% also went through the middle, and only 15% to the right. And with Xavier Coates having scored an astounding 7 tries in his last 3 games against the Roosters, they've elected to move Suwali to the right wing to play alongside Manu to try and deal with Coates' aerial dominance. And he received most of those tries from Munster kicks last season. So we imagine there'll probably be some just disruptors tomorrow, and Manu will be tasked to making sure that he hits Munster quite hard and that the ball doesn't get released so they can cut off the supply line to Xavier Coates. So we think it's best to swerve Coates again this week, as his supply line may be disrupted. And we think this will open up space for our man, Ryan Pappenhausen, who's one of the craftiest and sharpest ball runners in the game. We can see him exploiting gaps created in between the lines and scooting through to score a dummy and run. So we take Ryan Pappenhausen for 3.5 points, anytime scorer. That's best price at $2.50 with Bet365. And it'll be interesting to see when Harry Grant picks his moments in attack and defence tomorrow, because it looks like so far this season the middle forwards haven't taken up enough slack for him, and he's been becoming exhausted earlier than usual in games, which has blunted the Storm attack. And finally, guys, there's no Fab 4 for this game. It may not be that high scoring, but we just can't resist having something on the curse of the X. So you get home from work, guys, you've just eaten, you're having a nice glass of red, then ding dong, the doorbell rings. You slowly open the door and fuck, it's the X. What's she doing here? Why she brought some cheese with her? So this week, Brandon Smith, the cheese, faces his former team, and you just know he's going to be busting a gut to score. And we've also got Papi playing against his former team, the Panthers, and there's no better effort player in the NRL than Papi. So we think there's value in having a 0.5 point double here, guys. It's a long shot, but you know they're going to be busting a gut for sure. And we'll take 0.5 point on Brandon Smith, the cheese, anytime scorer, running onto Papi, anytime scorer. The double pays $26 and it's best priced at Unibet in the UK. Now guys, this may drift slightly when SpreadX open in the UK. So it's priced up slightly, well, Brandon Smith's priced up slightly higher elsewhere. So I haven't backed it myself yet. I'll probably wait till the morning to do it. And I imagine we might be able to eke out an extra 0.5 point or so. So it may end up closer to $30. So Ryan Pappenhausen, anytime, 3.5 points, 365. Cheese onto Papi, $26. See what price you can get in Oz or in the States, and I'll be waiting till the morning to do that. The other thing, guys, if you don't mind, is if you don't follow us already, please have a look at our socials or give us a follow on our Discord. If you Google Linktree the Snipers Club, you'll find our page and you'll be able to connect to us on all our different channels. You've been listening to the Snipers Club. Please like, share, and help our channel grow.